I want to update you on some breaking news. The Wall Street Journal is reporting charges by unnamed officials that in the Boston Marathon bombings, Russia had provided information to intelligence agencies, specifically the FBI, the CIA, perhaps others. These unnamed U.S. officials are now saying that Russia withheld key information in that informative exchange and warning to the United States. There is also another possibility, of course, and that is that unnamed officials are trying to protect various agencies that did not respond to those warnings, however incomplete. Joining us now, the A-Team, former Reagan political director, Fox News political analyst, Ed Rollins, former White House special assistant, senior advisor to President Bill Clinton, Richard Socarides. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let me start, if I may, Richard, with you. This is a White House that is now out front, caught in a lie on Benghazi. They are out front, caught using the IRS as a political weapon, for which the IRS director was kind enough to apologize. This is an administration digging very deep holes for itself.
Well, I don't think they've been caught in a lie on Benghazi. I mean, I think there are serious issues about why there was inadequate security at the embassy in Benghazi when the attack occurred, and I think there was a report that answered some of those questions. There may be other questions raised by those hearings, but I certainly don't think anybody's been caught in any kind of lie. And on the IRS thing, I mean, the IRS during the time of this incident was run by an appointee of George W. Bush, this was a deplorable action, but there's no suggestion that the president or anybody, any political appointees, had anything to do with it. I mean, we'll no doubt get to the bottom of it, and nothing like that should ever happen. I mean, it's really deplorable.
Okay.
But there's no suggestion that the president or anybody working directly for him knew anything about it.
Is that a sufficient defense?
Not to me. Conservative groups were hollering all through the election that they were being called out, that the IRS was asking to see their donors.
You've just learned it was George Bush's fault.
To basically, say today that it was some low level in Cincinnati. And something like this doesn't end up at low level. And I think you need more than an apology. You need some heads to spill. This is an activity that has taken place in the past. The IRS abused rights of citizens in both Republican and Democrat administrations. It's not tolerable today. And I think to a certain extent, they better get to the bottom of this.
No, and I completely agree with that. I mean, that's a very reasonable statement. I mean, we have to get to the bottom of it. There should be an appropriate investigation, and whoever is responsible should be punished, should be fired. I mean, you can't use the IRS like that.
And then you're using the IRS. You know, the IRS is going to be the enforcement agency on the health care, in which right now they're basically trying to figure out how they're going to basically enforce. So there's going to be all this privacy information that people are going to have from their medical records or what have you. It's all going to be within the IRS's purvey. And obviously, if you don't trust the IRS to live up to the privacy rules of the country, you're in big trouble.
Well, I don't think that this permeates the entire IRS. I mean, I think so far we think that this was one division in Cincinnati. We don't know if there were other people involved. But I mean, nobody trusts the IRS. Do you trust the IRS? I certainly don't trust the IRS.
Well, actually, I trust the IRS somewhat more than I do the other parts of the.
Well, the IRS is run by an appointee. At the period in question was run by an appointee of President George W. Bush.
Yeah, and you you make it sound as though that somehow excuses the conduct of it, and also the oversight by the President of the United States, because irrespective of who appointed whom, it is still the Obama administration, and he is. This may be a shock. Responsible for a federal government. By the way, when you look at Obamacare, you have to wonder if he really wants his name on it, because it's falling to pieces. Now we've got immigration reform. Very quickly, we watched yesterday the Senate Judiciary Committee over 7.5 hours refused to secure the border in its amendments, dismissed conservative, if you will, amendments. How can this possibly get through? No one knows how many immigrants are under discussion here. No one knows the cost. We've got numbers that range from $6.3 trillion in net cost to the country to $2.5 billion. How does one call that rational public policy?
Well, I think that you have a bunch
about
of
30
a
seconds.
bipartisan group of very smart people trying to find a solution to a very difficult
How
problem.
bipartisan is when the vote is 10-8?
Well,
Ed?
it's equally as important. These gangs of 8, which we've seen over the years on both sides, are absurd. At the end of the day, it's going to be a very tough bill to get through the Congress.
I think you'll
Gentlemen,
have
we
70
thank you.
votes for it out of the Senate.
70 votes for the Senate.
heard it here.
And the Obama administration didn't know anything about anything.
Right.
Ed Rollins, Richard Socarides, thank you very
you.
much. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for being with us. I want you to have a very, very pleasant weekend, and we thank you for being with us. Good night from New York.